I'm Marissa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page. Marissa, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking out my window right now, and it is both snowing and sunny at the same time. There are clouds and blue skies, and my grass is green. So,
wow.
Is it December? Is it April? Is it June? I have no idea, but it's an interesting look outside the window.
So I'm just looking out. So I do see a little bit of light, fluffy white clouds, but the rest is blue. But about 30 minutes ago, it was snowing like crazy. So in keeping with all of our federal and state requirements, you and I are social distancing, as we always have done when we did the podcast. And I'm guessing we're what, 4 miles apart, 5 miles apart? If you went in a straight line, maybe more than that.
Bird's eye, probably more than that.
Yeah, who knows? We'll have to have somebody with a really tall drone to tell us exactly where, a drone that can fly really higher. Because you can't just go, there's a big valley between your house and my house. So you can't just go straight. You'd have to go down and up and around.
Yep.
Anyways, but that has nothing to do with why we're here today. But we are going to close out the series for such a time as this. So I know that I told folks it was a 3-part series. And then it became a 4-part series, and I promise you it will not be a 5-part series because, quite frankly, as I wrote in this, I think we're all tired of talking about COVID-19. And all of us just want to move on.
Yeah.
But as we just heard today, because we're about a week before this gets released, the governor in the state of New York just told us we're not going anywhere until May 15th. And I love how they say at the earliest.
Right.
At least. So, whatever. And one of the things that I wrote here was that I know we all wish that we could just put it behind us, but we can't. And that's probably good because what my goal for today is for us to kind of move away from all the negativity to some more of a positive thing about what's going on around us. And just like I've said in some of the teachings that you heard me do, and some of the ones that I posted or you posted on MACNY's YouTube channel, there's a lot of good that's coming out of this, and the new normal is going to be better than the old normal. And it was interesting. Well, you and I mentioned it on one of our calls just a couple hours ago that what was our comfortable old normal at one point was a new normal that was uncomfortable. So we just have to keep moving through it. But I thought we could just also quickly run through the 9 points that we've talked about in the previous weeks. So the first part that I sent out, the post that went out and we talked about, was the 3 things that a leader needs to do to I refer to it as securing their oxygen mask. They need to make the shift. They need to make the shift from everything is horrible and the fear-based mindset to, okay, there is something good that could come out of this, because as we talked about, Albert Einstein said, in the middle of difficulty is great opportunity. So that mental shift is what the leader has to do first. And then the next question they have to ask themselves is, how will this crisis make me better? And, toward the end, one of the things you and I are going to talk about is, how is it making us better? How did it make us better so far? The third question that the leader needs to work through is, how will I use the crisis to help others? So in that first session, it's all about the leader getting their mindset around navigating or leading through a crisis. The second post that went out in the second podcast we did was, how do we begin to bring our teams out of the doldrums, the fear, being stuck in fear. And that one was, we communicate judiciously more than continually. There's nothing worse than a leader that just keeps spewing information after information after information. No, what our teams really need is a thoughtful, empathetic, planned out, very well planned, very well structured communication. And then the leader needs to come alongside their team member and kind of help them navigate through the fear. And once we've got them, and we do that, just as a reminder, we help people navigate through fear by getting them to talk about it, helping shine the light of truth on the fear that might have about 10% truth and the rest is what we think it might be. And then the third part of that second session was helping them move to a more positive life stance. So really giving them the encouragement, helping them move to where they need to be so that they can truly take a better stand in life and work and everything. And then last week, we did 7, 8, and 9. It was optimism versus positivity, which is, there's a huge difference. Positivity is just making us feel good. Well, this isn't so bad. No, it is bad. It's pretty bad. But I know we can get through this. And I want to remind our listeners that the proof that we can get through anything is that we have already. We've made it through a lot of things in our life already. There's people that have overcome all kinds of things. That means that we can do it again. Number 8 was creative versus reactive. We have to understand that when we are reacting, we're typically responding to a stimuli that is fearful, and it usually is a self-defense kind of mechanism. There really isn't a lot of thought that goes into that. It's typically just, okay, I got to do this, and I got to do it now. And the things like, well, all of a sudden, toilet paper shortage was brought out by people that were reacting based on a fear. Like, I don't know how. Is there anything logical that you can see as to why people started hoarding toilet paper?
I think people were thinking more natural disaster than pandemic. Like,
okay.
Like hurricane preparation over, social distancing.
Sure.
That was the only, because I had thought about that before. That was the only thing I was thinking. Like they were thinking, okay, the grocery stores will be closed.
Sure. And I don't want to run out of toilet paper. My wife found this post on Facebook that I'm sure you saw. It was like something like 2030 finally used the last roll of toilet paper that Mom bought during the coronavirus.
I've seen that. It's funny.
It's a good thing toilet paper doesn't have a shelf life, right?
Right.
We'd just be throwing it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And we never came close. But, I remember the Saturday before the quote-unquote pause in New York State, going from store to store and finally finding some toilet paper for some friends of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife said, listen, we'll just bring you some of ours, but I found them 4 rolls, and I think I bought them 8 rolls or something. I don't know. And then the last one. So creative versus reactive. We want to help our teams learn to create the new normal. We're doing that at MACNY. You and I, just before we took our quote unquote dinner break, was talking about, we have a new normal team.
Mm-hmm.
And we as an organization are working to create what is the new normal. And that's great. So that's the creative piece that's there. And the last one was rapid growth. I really believe that in a time of crisis, people are poised for rapid growth, for professional, personal. You can just take off like a rocket because there's a focus in your life that normally isn't there. One of the worst things that can happen for us as human beings is to be on autopilot, because we just go through every day. Just everything's normal, everything's the same, there's never an issue, and we never grow. And then when there is an issue, are we ready for it? Are we prepared for it? So a crisis really helps us focus on rapid growth. I also noted in my post that went out this morning was these 9 steps, as much as we'd like to think that they're linear and once we go from 1 to 9, we're done, you're not. As I mentioned last week, you're going to have to go back. Some days you're going to have bad days. Yesterday for me was a bad day. I don't know why. I was just miserable. Oh, I do know why. I'll share why I was miserable. So for whatever reason, I kept hearing everybody saying that they got their stimulus checks. Now, so I looked at my bank. I didn't get a stimulus check. So they said, oh, don't worry about it. You can just log into the IRS and they'll tell you where your check was. I logged into the IRS and the IRS has no idea who I am. So that's kind of worrisome for me. And it was like the weirdest thing. Like, why is this bothering me so much? So I mentioned it to my wife, and she just said, would you just stop thinking about it? She said, you didn't plan it on it, until they said they were going to give it to us, right? And then it was, Oh, what was the next piece? She says, we don't need it, which is true. And so don't worry about it. But it was like one of those dumb little things that had me wound up yesterday. And I think I probably checked my bank account 5 times yesterday. The bank's like, what's up with this guy? He's like, is he obsessed? Yeah, and I was. But anyway, so we're going to have bad days. And I did have some rough days in the last 30 days that were less self-focused or whatever and at least greedy than that one. But I'm thankfully today I can move on. You know what? If I get it, I get it. If I don't get it, I am a little concerned of why the IRS has no idea who I am. Because I've been giving them significant sums of money.
Right. Have you been paying your taxes?
Yeah, I've been paying my taxes, and I've been working since I was 18. So there's 40 years of me paying them money. What do you mean you don't know? If you didn't know who I was, I could have saved a fortune by now. But anyways. So just remember, you're going to have to go back and think about some positive things. Which gets me to our key topic for today. So let's talk about opportunities that we've seen in this COVID. I was going to say post-COVID, but we're still homebound. There's nothing post
COVID.
about it.
Yeah, this
during COVID.
During COVID.
During COVID-19. I heard a great one where this one guy says, what happened to COVID 1 through 18? How did we get right to 19? I think it might have something to do with the year.
It's the year. Yeah, it's the year.
But you imagine if there were 18 before that, we all might have immunities to it by now. So who knows? So maybe we can just go back and forth as long as we can. So I think one of the great opportunities was distilleries making hand sanitizer. I'm so excited that I think as soon as we're done recording this, I'm going to go to the nearest burned dairy because I've heard they have Beacon Skiff 1911 hand sanitizer. Now, I'm not going to drink it, but so I'll let you know.
Wild Thursday night.
Go buy the hand sanitizer.
Maybe you can get someone from Beacon Skiff to sign the bottle for you.
Actually, I have a new neighbor that lives across the street who works from Beacon Skiff.
Yes, it's collector's item. We will see this on the Antiques Roadshow 30 years from now.
I'll buy a bottle for each of my grandkids and say, you cannot use this.
It's like the $2 bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Which actually I have some.
Yeah, my mom saved one for every kid.
I have one saved in my stamp collection that I haven't looked at in 10 years.
Yeah,
so and what I love about it was there was a need that the country had, and distilleries around the country converted their distilleries to take the alcohol and make hand sanitizer.
Creativity.
So that was the one, the distilleries making hand sanitizer. It's not to have anything wrong with distilleries. I just think it's cool that they made hand sanitizer.
Yeah, that is cool.
So what opportunity did you think of, or
so
positive thing?
I started a list here, so I guess we'll just go back and forth. The first thing on my list is people appear to have more compassion and more patience.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah, I feel like people are just more understanding. They're less on edge. There's less like negativity in the virtual workplace, and less gossip, and I think everyone's kind of like, this has leveled the playing field a little bit. Like, we're all in this together. Very good. So I do really appreciate that.
I don't think I told this to you. I think the only person I told was my wife and Tim. I went to Wegmans to buy 1 head of lettuce because my mom needed iceberg lettuce. So, okay, fine. And of course, I went to one store and they're out of iceberg lettuce. But I found some. So I went to Wegmans. Actually, no, I didn't. I forgot to go to a store. And so I'm driving home. I'll just go into Wegmans and get it. So I put my mask on and I went into Wegmans. I got my head of iceberg lettuce, and then I got in the line because there's a line now. You can't just walk up to the, to the checkout lines. And when I got to this checkout young lady, she says, "Sir, the person before you bought this gift card and said I should give it to the next person in line, and you're that person."
Oh, wow.
Was that not cool?
That's so cool.
Now all I bought was this 79-cent head of lettuce, so I said, give it to the next person.
Yeah.
But somebody that goes into this kindness thing, right?
Yeah. Well, then you pass it to the next person.
I should pass it to the next person.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
You know, who knows if maybe everybody was as nice as all of us as the first person. Maybe the kid put it in her pocket when she went home. I don't know. Anyways, she should, because she's on the front lines with all us potentially sick people walking by. So it's my turn. I actually had a coaching client, and you touched on this, that told me yesterday that he thinks since their staff is working mostly from home, there's less drama.
Mm-hmm.
He said people used to put their head in my door and whine and complain about everything. They're not. So that might get into this thing where, so it might not just be the fact that we are socially distancing, but maybe we appreciate each other more.
Yep.
So I don't know, is that technically another positive, or is that just tail on the tails of your positive?
No, I think
You'll
that's
give me
its
credit
own.
for that?
I will give you credit.
Okay, good.
You get a point.
So it's your turn.
All right,
We're
it's my
tied.
turn. So I think I mentioned this before, but there is a lot less pollution.
Yes.
And as someone, like my kids are going to, if you looked at what the future of the climate change and all that was for my kids, it was sad. And now maybe it'll be a little bit better. And it's like
we're flattening the curve.
We're flattening the climate change curve simultaneously. I love the meme. I've seen it on Instagram a few times. It says that my car is getting 3 weeks to the gallon, because it's so true.
That's great.
I love that. I love looking at the maps that show the reduction in pollution. It's a nice break for Mother Nature, and we're coming up on Earth Day. So
that's right.
Probably less
Very
litter.
Cool. Okay, yeah. I'll give you that. Absolutely. Right. I think one of the great positives is the whole distance learning thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just such a wonderful opportunity that I think going forward will dramatically help keep education affordable.
Yep.
If your kid is taking a class online from his or her teacher from the local school, at some point, why don't we have some of the best, the brightest, the most gifted teachers on some really unusual topics? And I'm not dismissing, the teachers, that all the teachers we have are great. But the vast majority of the teachers we have are great. Because seriously, what about that? Okay, the vast majority of the teachers we have are great. But maybe there's a teacher that is really gifted in some obscure topic.
Mm-hmm.
Now any kid anywhere in the country could take advantage of that. So, or at least in the state. So I think that was one. And I think too, for our, I completed, it was a tiring 4 days, but I was like doing distance learning almost every day, in one form or another. And it is tiring, but I think it also opens the door for even employees who might not be able to leave the facility because of whatever reason, their job requirements, that, you have to be there in case something, would be able to now take courses that they couldn't before.
Yeah.
So I picked distance learning.
Yeah, and I think it just creates more space for different formats. We all learn differently. We know that. We know Some people do better with visual, and some people do better with hands-on, and some people do better with reading, whatever. This just kind of is another layer to that. So yeah, it's not going to replace kids going to school, but it could be, for the kid who, maybe for tutoring opportunities. I mean, I have a friend who works part-time as a tutor and spends a lot of time commuting to meet up with students. And sometimes it's not always convenient because mom or dad is working and the kid can't get there, whatever. That this could open up new opportunities for that too.
Absolutely. Wow, that's great.
So,
okay, your turn.
My turn. All right. I also have on my list getting creative with using what you have on hand. So,
ooh, love it.
Like dinner. It's whatever I can make with what's in my kitchen. Or just getting creative with activities for the girls. Finding today, my mother-in-law sent me an article about how to clean my stainless steel appliances with vinegar and olive oil. So I call it the salad dressing method.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, I do have special cleaner for it, but I don't like to use it because I don't like the way it smells. I don't like the chemicals.
Yeah.
So I like to use it very sparingly. So she sent me the article and I laughed for a while because I just thought it was funny. But I was like, this obviously makes sense. Like white vinegar is great for cleaning and olive oil is like miracle worker. So
sure.
Today I did it and my appliances look fantastic. It obviously there was some vinegar smell, but it wasn't like super strong. It wasn't toxic to my kids. And so, kind of just figuring things out with what you got.
And if you put some herbs in it, you could dip bread in it.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's all edible, right?
All
White vinegar. I like the taste of vinegar, a little bit of it. So you could,
It's funny. Like I'm not the type to go camp. This is like my equivalent of camping, right? Like just you find stuff to work with. So
sure.
I'm finding out, I'm doing all kinds of things I've been really excited about this collection of cardboard boxes that I have going because I read about how I can use that as a barrier between like my current mulch and my new mulch to prevent weeds.
Very cool.
So it's like if you get the uncoated cardboard boxes, they're biodegradable and you line your, mulch beds with it. And so every time I have an opportunity to collect one, I have this nice stack going in my garage.
That's awesome.
So,
well, you should actually get more of the credit than more than one. Because
was that like 2 points?
Stuff.
Yeah.
That was like 2 points.
Okay.
So, so you're ahead of me because you have 5 or 4, and I only have you have 4.
I have 4,
and I've given 3. So let me see. So now I have to catch up to you.
Okay. Let's see if you can do it.
So, and one of these, I'm not going to use this as to get points for, but I want to do a shout out to a bakery that's downtown called Sweet Praxis.
I'm ordering from them soon. I'm waiting for the cake. I'm waiting for the cake to come back.
Okay, so I know one of the owners of Sweet Praxis. She was my daughter-in-law's I think she was like a maid of honor in my daughter-in-law's wedding. And so Ashley moved from Arizona and then Jen moved from Arizona. But I just saw today on Instagram that they are selling their chocolate chip cookie mix dough.
Yes.
So you bring it home and bake it at home. Is that not brilliant?
Oh, it's so brilliant. They're doing that and they're delivering like free delivery if you live in this like Syracuse, city of Syracuse. But I am totally paying for the suburban delivery.
Awesome.
I'm waiting for the cakes to come back.
Sweet Praxis is great.
That was like a 3-pointer.
Well, you know what? It's just a shout out to Jen, and I forgot what her other partner's name is, but just some really great young people. The next one I was going to have is family spending time together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, because what else you going to do? We're stuck, right?
Yeah.
And I just see it in, I know that one of the great posts that I heard was a parent saying, who do I call to get a sub for homeschooling?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great one. But you know what? There are positives to it. And so we just got to focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm using as my number 4.
Okay.
So you're going to go now with 5.
All right. So I've got a few on my list. Which one should I go with? I'm going to go with finding joy in the simple.
Ooh, love it.
So like today, Isla made a noisemaker out of dry pasta and one of our plastic eggs, and she will be performing in her class Zoom tomorrow. They'll be having music class, and there will be a handful of 4-year-olds with their homemade instruments. So again, like finding things around the house, but also like the simplicity of it almost feels like a luxury when you can go for a walk outside. So
right.
Basically 45 degrees warm now. And it's like that joy and like, okay, like, come on, get your shoes on, let's go. Or even like going for a drive. I took a drive with Isla and we sang the whole Frozen 2 soundtrack. So we didn't really go anywhere. Great. we just kind of ran the battery on the car a little bit and
use up some of that inexpensive gasoline.
Yeah, I could get 3 weeks to the gallon on that and had a little fun because really we can't do some of the, I think too, we've gotten so caught up as a society in like birthday parties for our children being so outrageous and like crazy and play dates and all these things being so different than they were even when like I was a kid or when you were a kid. And now I think I shared, I don't know if I shared it on here or not, but for Isla's birthday, we couldn't have a party. And we just did some really simple things and it was fun. It was like real good fun. And she was so happy. And so it was like, it was simple and it was.
Exactly. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Super. So my next one, which would be my number 5, would be the reshoring of products. I believe that this country woke up and we realized it's probably not good that all of our antibiotics are made in China.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Syracuse used to have one of the largest antibiotic manufacturers, I think, in the country, when Bristol Myers, you know, was making antibiotics on Thompson Road. And you can't have your medications. We need to start looking at medications and medical devices as essential national security things. So I think you're going to see some reshoring. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be my number 5 benefit. We're going to get back to having it made in America, which from a guy that ran a manufacturing company for enough years to know how bad that was, that inexpensive, you know, quote unquote labor. It wasn't good. So I think that's going to come back.
Yep. That was on my
Your
list.
turn.
All right. So I know we're getting towards the end. So I was saving this one as my save the best for last.
Oh.
So my, I guess, final point here will be the increased appreciation for essential workers. So whether it be all of our people on the front lines of this at the hospital and our healthcare workers, regardless of what you do for the hospital, you're a hero, but also our essential workers in other places like in banks, in grocery stores, you know, police officers, fire department, everyone that is an essential worker right now that is like really working hard and making sure that we're all safe and that we have the things that we need so that we can stay home. It's a luxury for me to say, like, I haven't left my house beyond going for a drive in my car in weeks. So I wanted to make sure that we gave a big, big, big thank you. I know a couple of your kids are in those positions right now.
That's true. Yep.
And I've got some family members that are too. And I've been making it a point. I mean, like I said, that I really don't go anywhere, but when I do go to the grocery store, I always really thank the person that is there, you know, ringing out my groceries, or if I come across someone in the store, the pharmacy, wherever, making sure that they know that, like, you know, that they're valuable and that I really appreciate them being there. Because if they weren't there, if they were saying, you know, I'm afraid to come to work, I quit, or I'm not coming in, then we'd have real problems. Then we'd have a reason to be stocking up on toilet paper for fear that our stores would be closing down, but they're not. In a lot of these, you know, organizations and hospitals, they're doing all they can to protect their employees, which is really great.
Exactly. Wow. I'm not even going to try to compete with that. You win. You beat me by 2. How's that?
It wasn't a game, but, you know, good match.
Yeah. When it's, you know, wouldn't it be great if more people would get together and spend time talking about things that are positive?
Mm-hmm.
That could be a
we
game
should just
family.
Do this.
You know, our listeners should do that in their homes, or you know, and just say, hey, let's see who can come up with the most positives from what's going on today. Hey, and send them to us.
Yeah.
So now, should they send them to our email addresses or the info@macny.org?
They can send them to info@macny.org, and it comes straight to my inbox.
There you go. info@macny.org. Send us your positives from wherever you are. I know we have a listener in Spain. So in Spain, you know, what's the positive? Because Spain is getting hit pretty hard too.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We can, you know, share share them on here.
Absolutely. Great. So it's a challenge, all of our listeners.
We're counting on you.
You need to send as many positives as you can to Marisa at info@macny.org, and we'll put that in the description as well. All right. So you want to know what we're talking about next week?
Yeah.
Beyond the turning point.
Ooh. Mysterious.
Scary music to, serious music, right? So, all right. With that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.